Yeah, hey, this is Danny Heim. I'm a radical climate change activist, and I'm going to do a presentation here using the really brilliant presentation that Greg Craven made on YouTube, showing in a chart how climate change action is necessary. I'll show you that chart here in a bit. I'll demonstrate it. And I want to use his chart then to show a solution to climate change. He proves that there's the best thing to do is take action on climate change. I want to show what the best action to take on climate change is. What is the least risky? I'm going to be asking the question, do we want to stay with economic output and keep trying the renewables approach to reducing emissions, or can we take the reducing economic output as an approach to reducing emissions? Reducing economic output is 100% guarantee that you can quickly reduce emissions. Simple. You just stop producing, or produce only what is necessary in order for us to have manageable lives. But if you go the route with switching to renewables, which we should do, we should still do that regardless. The time that it's going to take to get that done is very dangerous for us to go into that approach, because it's going to take too long to switch over. We're going to keep emitting with fossil fuels for quite a while if we're going to try to maintain our standards of living that we have now and maintain growing economic output. So the only real thing that is 100% guarantee, considering the time factor and the ease, really, as far as a program goes. Now, not easy for how you're going to live, but as far as what's the quickest, safest way to take care of this climate change situation is to reduce our output, meaning changing our lives pretty dramatically to a pretty simple way of living, most likely. So I'll show you what he demonstrated, whether climate change is a reality or not. Taking action is the safest thing to do. Okay, here we go again. You can see this guy here. That's the guy that's on the video, Greg Craven. And I think I got that right, Craven, something, Greg. Anyway, you can see right there, there's where he's at. But you want to look up the most terrifying video you'll ever see, and you can listen to his presentation. He'll do it much better than me. But I'm going to show you what he's done and then lead into my fantastic, brilliant presentation that I copied from him. Okay, as you can see, you can go this way. No, let's just stay this way. Okay, as you can see, this is Greg's presentation. I've copied it, but it's exactly what he put on the screen. And what he's saying here, this is global climate change. Is it false or is it true? And this is whether we take action yes. This is whether we take action no. We don't take action. We do take action. If global warming is a big joke and it's false, the worst thing that could happen if we went ahead and took action would be it cost a lot of money, could even possibly cause a global depression. But even though it wasn't true, we canceled the risk of catastrophic warming. If we don't take action and climate change is false, then wow, would we be happy? If climate change is true, which it likely is, because 97% of climate scientists think it is, then, and we decide to, yes, let's take action, then it's going to cost us, just like if we took action and it was false, and could cause a global depression, all that. Might not be fun, but we'd be happy because we stopped global warming. And we all live. However, if it's true that climate change is real and we choose not to take action, then we die, essentially. Catastrophic economic collapse, politics would go crazy, political strife, social strife, environment would go completely to shit, and our health would probably mean basically we wouldn't have any because we'd be dead. Okay, get it? That's enough for now, but I'm going to come back at you and I'm going to show you my deal. Alright, look at that, Starbucks coffee. The skeptics have a heyday with that, wouldn't they? Okay, looky here. I'm doing the same thing with Greg's chart, only applying it to another issue, which is trying to solve the issue and what action to take to get that solution. And I asked the question, is reducing economic output the least risky if doing that is the only way to reduce emissions? So we're setting up that scenario here where there's several ways to reduce emissions, efficiency, changing to renewables, all kinds of things. But can we do that and still maintain economic growth like we do now? And will we, in fact, could we even do it? And not lose in the race, the time race basically, because we don't have much time, lose in the race to stop climate change. We need to get the emissions down at least by 80% by 2025. That's IPCC, so you can check that. More or less IPCC, I'm kind of paraphrasing there a little bit. They say actually 100% in AR4. But anyway, this is going to show that the risk of continuing with economic output at the level that we are now is too high. Okay, so here's our question. Are reducing output being the only way to solve the crisis, climate crisis? If it's false that that's not true, we actually can keep on our economic output and reduce and stop the global crisis. Well, if we decide to do it, then we're going to get the same things that he talked about, or global depression, reducing in standard of living, but we're likely to stop or at least reduce climate change. If it's false that really we don't need to cut economic output, that's not really the only way to go at it, then and we don't do that, well then we're going to be really happy because we'll solve climate change and we can still get to stay fat consumers. Now if it's true that that is really the only way to stop climate change, or to reduce emissions anyway, solving climate change is another issue, but reducing emissions to have a chance to stop climate change anyway, well it's the same thing will happen if we do that, we do reduce our output. Same thing's going to happen that happens up here. But it was true that it was the only way to go, so we're going to be happy because we're likely to have stopped climate change. We may not be living as happy, we may not be able to drive that Cadillac, down Riverside Lane, but we'll be happy because we're alive. Now, if it's true that this is the only way to go to reduce and we don't choose to reduce our economic emissions, we say no to that. And here's what we got. Massive death, maybe likely extinction, massive destruction from war, famine absolutely going to happen, catastrophic warming won't stop, could go all the way up to 8 degrees Celsius by 2100, end of life essentially. Okay? Get it? Okay, I'll talk to you here in just a minute. Well, to capsulize all this, Greg has shown that we have to take some sort of action. It's the least risky. Taking the risk of not doing anything, of inaction or small actions, the actions that we're at right now, actually, they're very small. We're not even 5% of the way there. And that would be to the major, at least an 80% reduction in emissions by 2025. So we have to do something. We're right now on the path of renewables, a good path. We need to do that regardless, but it shouldn't be our main target. I think this chart clearly shows that the least risk is to go ahead and start reducing our economic output. We'll wind up doing it either way, just like Greg says in his video. We're likely to experience global depression if we go with renewables and we try to stop it with the way we're going. We're still going to do it. It's going to cost a lot of money. Now, if it doesn't, great. If it does things and works out all fine, well, I mean, creates jobs, all that they're predicting, but it isn't showing that right now. And it's the time factor. It's so slow going. We're very likely not reach a complete switch over and get to zero emissions is what we really need. We need those zero emissions, well, most say by at least 2050, but my opinion is we need them a lot sooner. And the switch over and the fight that's going on with deniers and the Koch brothers and everything else, with Congress and the shape that it's in, and what the Republicans are doing, everything they can to stop both climate change and Obamacare, for that matter. That's all there seemed to be about. And with that happening, the inertia is just way too much. So we're going to wind up with an economic collapse anyway, most likely. And that's even on its own, even without climate change, our economy is in deep trouble. There's a whole host of reasons. You can throw them all in there like he talks about. If you watch his video, he says you can put all kinds of variables into this chart. And the thing that you've got to think about is that it's not about absolutes in the chart. It may seem like that. It's about what is the least risky, or what is the most risky. What is the outcome of taking a risk? Think about that. He claims that there's no holes can be poked in this. I imagine there probably are, but I think it's a pretty solid case for showing that action is needed, and I think I'm making a pretty good case that the action that we need to take is reducing economic output, and that output should be really to the point where we're just basically managing our lives, keeping food on the table, keeping heat in the houses, doing the very basic things that are needed. But when it comes to new cars, trips to Jamaica, all that kind of thing, way on down the line to even buying a new smartphone, anything like that, those things need to be massively cut, or we're not going to make it.